here in the 70s and 80s, so I do kind of remember a lot of those things. One of the things that I've stressed a lot, and I know the people who have seen me when I've been canvassing and stopping at homes, is that civic pride is kind of my baseline concept. I think everything flows from that. So what I'm trying to do is reestablish some of the events that have not only brought families and people together, but have also brought revenue to the city. There were several things. Many of us probably remember concerts for the cause, those type of things where you had a lot of people coming into town. They were spending dollars, which, you know, if you think about a typical group or event of 10,000 people, they say an average person spends $100 while they're there. That's literally $1 million. The overall focus of bringing back things, both for keeping our children and our young people here, are extremely important to me. And it just seems like the events and stuff that we have are very minimal. We have one Maud Powell event, you know, in terms of individual parades, things like that. They just seem to go to the wayside. Also, we used to have the Taste of the Illinois Valley, which, you know, some people like, some people may not have, but for all practical purposes, it was a way to get together. I think having some family movie nights, I think getting people together to talk and integrating both industry and business and our citizens is going to be extremely important to make sure that we build the fabric of Peru moving forward. Thank you.
Mr. Harrell.
Okay, thank you. Contrary to some belief, there is quite a few recreational things going on in Peru. We have our concerts in Peru. We haven't had one for a year now because of the construction that we've had at the airport, so we had to discontinue those until the construction is done, and then we'll enter into talks again. That was bringing 10,000 people into town. Our town is a town of 10,000. That would bring 10,000 people into town for a weekend. We have our first TBM air show last year, which we have our second one this year. That brought greater than 10,000 people into town. You have your fireworks. The candidate to my right just mentioned Maud Powell, which they do a very, very good job on that for the weekend of the Maud Powell. We have the weekly municipal band concerts that usually bring in 75 to 125 people. And there are things happening in Peru. It's just if you need to look at what is happening, what is not happening. Thank you very much.
Okay, and Mr. Perez, what are your goals for bringing family events back to Peru?
Thank you. I only have about a minute and a half to answer all this, but my agenda is pretty thick as far as bringing community events into the city of Peru. It's very important that we have things for the families and businesses to do and to look forward to within the city. What I would really like to see happen in our downtown district is having like farmers markets, arts in the park over at Baker Lake or down at the Maud Powell. There's different things that I would like to see us do. Let's say, for example, we close Route 6 on Peoria Street from Route 6 to maybe 5th Street. We have a lot of parking back in there. On Sundays, we could hold farmers markets. We could have sidewalk sales where whether it's downtown businesses bringing and setting up tables and selling some things, or we have craft we have a lot of people who do crafts within our community. There's a lot of things that we can do to enhance our downtown and bring in family events. We could also look into restructuring our Park and Recreation Board. I've been hitting on that. I think what we need to do is the city passed an ordinance a few years back where it gave the Park and Recreation Board complete responsibility to host family events. And it's very important that we take that Recreation Board and we bring in some new faces. We bring in some new individuals. Most of them have been on there probably for 15 years or so, 10, 15 years, and we need to bring more volunteers in. We need to, there are a lot of people who really want to take part in city projects, and the only way we can do that is by recruiting and having more volunteers for events like this. Thank you.
Okay, our next question, we will start with Mr. Harrell. Do you have career commitments that would limit your time dedicated to the position of mayor?
In 2009, when I sat in this library forum, basically the same question was asked, and I said at that time that I was prepared to do what was needed to be in the office of the mayor. I was in the mayor's office for 3 years. I became eligible for retirement, and I did that so I could be in the mayor's office with more time. What I did find out is that it is a very extremely time-consuming job. There's a friend of mine who's a mayor over to the east of us who jokes and says, yeah, it's just a part-time job. I only work 8 to 8 every day. And that's pretty much what it is. But it would be very difficult for someone to have a job and to also be doing what needs to be done in the city. It's a big city. It's very busy. There's many things happening. And it would be very difficult without putting in the time that I do.
Mr. Perez?
That's a great question. As you know, most of us hold a full-time job, and when Mr. Mayor Harrell took place, he took seat in, I believe in 2009, and he worked full-time with Catani Crane. My plan is, I'm a very fiscal responsible individual who monitors my money. So I work full-time as a truck driver for Walmart. I'm usually home by 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And one of the things that I'm going to do is work to be able to take this on as a full-time position. Maybe take me a year or two, but I'm working financially and being financially responsible to do that. I plan on being a 7-day-a-week mayor. You can mark my word that I'm going to be here and available for my constituents 7 days a week. That's including Saturdays and Sundays. I plan on hosting forums for the public every quarter on Saturdays, and my schedule that I'm going to be able to work out, because I'll be resigning from the Peru Fire Department if elected, as it'll be a conflict of interest. That's also going to free up some time. So the only position I'm going to have is with my position at Walmart. I start my job at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm usually home by 12:30, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And they are so flexible with me that they understand. I've had a meeting with home office and corporate, and they are completely 100% supportive of me of taking on this position as mayor. Thank you.
And Mr. Giordano?
The difference between 4 years ago and today is 4 years ago I still had, all 3 of my children at home. I've just recently become an empty nester from the perspective of my last child is finishing college, so he's away for most of the time. I office out of my home, and I am around Peru all the time. I think to Mayor Harl's statement, I believe that this position does take a lot of time. I don't look at it like the gentleman to the east does, that it's a part-time position. What I want to do is I want to spend a lot more time with office hours and with time. I want to spend time talking with citizens, talking with our businesses, meeting with our industries, and finding out how we develop a common way to move forward. That being said, I have a lot of time. If people around have